Welcome back to the Cerner Hospitalist video training series. In this video, we're going to talk about order entry. Now, I have several videos online already about order entry, so I'm basically going to create a brief synopsis of the process and show you some of the different ways to access the orders. You'll see that I have an option to perform orders within the workflow here with new order entry. I can go to the quick orders, or I can go to the older menu and click orders here. So to start with, I'm going to show you the workflow process. Now, because I can move these around in the workflow, I decided to move mine toward the top. And the reason I did that is so I can just click on this or click on the plus sign and bring up the older order window if I want it. This older order window may not be as user-friendly on the surface, but the search engine seems to work better in my opinion. So I get the first 15 choices when I type in something, I hit enter, and I get a broader search. And to me, this just works better than the same process here where I could, let's do it here. And see, there's it seems to me that it just searches a little cleaner and it's easier to read in the older order entry window, but to each his own. I'm also able to access other physicians' favorites in the workflow, though that's a unique feature to the workflow that is not available in the older window up here. So I can go in here and type in, I'll just use my name, but and there's my favorites here. And that's under the shared tab here. I go back to this home button and search. So let's say I'm going to use I'm going to order a PSO order because I've got to make this patient an inpatient. And then I'm also going to do a heart failure order set. In this case, I could, there it is, CHF clinical pathway. There's our power plans because there's that symbol, looks like a lunch tray. I'll order that. So now I've got two order sets. And then I click here to go to my orders. And this is a point, I want you to be very aware of what this does here. This puts all the orders in the note itself under each diagnosis that's listed in your problem list. That's each numbered diagnosis that's in your problem list that flows down into your assessment and plan is numbered. So this makes your note look very sloppy and messy. So the best thing to do is hit clear all, and you can control where these orders go. If you don't put anything at all, it'll flow to the very bottom. If I say I want this heart failure clinical pathway to flow into acute CHF here, I can do that. I'll say modify. You always want to say modify when you're ordering a power plan because that gives you the opportunity to make some changes. And this order entry window is, once again, I've got several videos which discuss how to do this, and it's simple. You've got an order here that's checked. If it's checked, then it's ordered. If it's not checked, it's not ordered. And I can make some changes if I want to, like this lisinopril. I click that check. I have some common choices here. I left click on that. But for whatever reason, if I'm not happy with the choices, once I order it, I'll get the option to go into a detail window and change that up, change the frequency, change the dose. If for whatever reason I wanted 30 milligrams there. That wasn't one of the choices, but I can choose that if I'd like. And to get rid of this window here, I can click this arrow here, or I can simply just click anywhere up here. So let's say I went back to that. Let's say I did the carvedilol, and I ordered 12.5 PID. Brings this window up here. So if I'm happy with this, I can click anywhere up in here, any order beside the order I'm using, and it will bring it back down. A common problem I've seen in the order system is that, not that I would order this at the same time with lisinopril, but just for demonstration purposes. Notice that if I hover in the middle here, it turns my mouse into two parallel arrows. And if I click and hold and pull this down, or something happens that this window gets squashed down here, then you don't see any of your details. And I've had a few physicians have problems with that and didn't realize that what the issue was. They just knew they couldn't get to any of their details and couldn't complete their orders, because now if there's required fields in the detail window, they can't get to it. So all you have to do to remedy that is just hover in the middle, turn it to the parallel lines, click and hold your left mouse button, hold it, and while holding it, drag it up, get it where you want it to be, and then let go, and there you are. And I'm going to remove that order. So I'm in this power plan, and if there was something I wanted to add to this power plan, within the power plan itself that's not there, I can say add to phase. Not that I'm a big fan of Xanax, but it's one that I can remember off the top of my head, so I could just say. So I'm literally adding that order to this power plan, this heart failure power plan. I can continue adding orders till I'm done, but I'm just going to add that one order. There it is. It will automatically check it. And as you can see here, I'm within the heart failure order set, which is up here. It says planned pending. I have other videos that talk about the whole planned versus initiated state. Planned pending means I haven't signed it yet. It's not really an order until I've signed it. A planned order, like this one that someone else had done at some other time when they were playing with it, this order has already been signed. But these are the two orders that I made. They're both planned pending. So once I get this order where I want it, let's say it's something I've worked on and I like my choices and I want to save it, I can do a save as my favorite and put, maybe it was one where I had something that I remembered I ordered differently. And now that I've saved it, in the future, when I go to add an order, it will be up in the favorites bar. I'll show you that in a minute. But once I'm done with it, I can initiate the order set. And here it makes me put in the ejection fraction. And this is where I might run into a little bit of trouble, because getting back to the documentation can be a little bit of a challenge. One thing that I failed to mention is that if you want to see the chart, if you want to pull up more than one version of the chart, you can start Power Chart again. I won't do it this time, but you can start Power Chart and load up that patient's chart a second time, or another chart. So you can have more than one episode of Power Chart running, but you have to be careful you don't document on the wrong patient. So I'll just assume I know what's going on with this patient, say 40%. And I'll say, here's the green check mark. So I just initiated it, but I'm going to wait for signing the orders till I'm done with all the orders. So now I'll go to the next one, this PSO order, and say, well, let's say it is observation instead of inpatient. Now I can initiate that order, and once I'm done, I can say orders for signature, review all my orders that I've made, and say sign. Now here's my friendly VTE prophylaxis advisor. As you see, I did not really do anything for this patient for VTE. I did not order SCD hose. In fact, I really didn't go through the power plan properly, but this was just demonstration. But I'm going to say OK. And then the logic of the system looks at the patient's allergy, results, tells us that this is a medical patient. But if the patient had a different situation, like they had surgery upcoming or orthopedic surgery, it would change their risk pretty dramatically. And notice that they gave this patient score already a Padua score 3. Then you have the opportunity to go here and add additional factors to the Padua score. But it is taking into account the patient has certain diagnoses in the problem list. And that's one reason it is nice to have a problem list already built before you do your orders, because it does factor into your medical decision making, makes that process a lot easier. And here's the recommendations. So in this case, it's not really recommending pharmacologic treatment as much as it is certain activity. So I can do that. I can order it. But in this case, I'm just going to say cancel. So now my orders are signed. It brings me back to this final page, because this gives me the opportunity to see all the orders that are currently in effect, which are right here. Check marks show orders that are currently in process, or are currently active, I should say. Orders that are unchecked may have previously been ordered and either voided or discontinued. So if it's unchecked, the order is currently not active. And I can control that right here. I can click this, and right here I've got it selected for all orders, all statuses. I can just say, well, I just want to see all active orders. And now I only see active orders here. And I'm done. Takes me back to this page. My shopping cart is emptied out. Basically, the quick orders work exactly the same way, except now I can visibly see these orders and click on them. Let's say I have a CBC I want to do in the morning, or a BMP. I can click over here. Once again, it puts it in everything in my note. I'll say clear all. And say, no, I just want it on the, let's say there. And since those one-off orders were already had an order sentence there for the next AM, I just went ahead and signed it. Now let's see how that works if I make a note. If I go in here and make a progress note, assume I've filled in my information here. Now I'm going to go to progress note. Let's see how those orders flowed into my note. And you see where the BMP and CBC flowed into hypertensive urgency, where I selected it. And all the other orders, those heart failure orders, flowed in under here at the very bottom. I'll just cancel and discard that. Now, if I wanted to go instead to this order entry window and do it that way, I can click here and search here. So it's the similar process, but the favorites are available here. And now the order set I just saved comes back up with everything pre-selected. Remember too, I can go over here and actually remove order sets. So that's just a quick run through of the orders system. If you want more information, there's several other videos available that talk about the difference between initiating and planning order sets. That's a very important distinction to make in the system in terms of planning orders. That applies strictly to power plans. Power plans, of course, are any set of orders that have this little lunch tray on it. So if I say HOS for hospitalist, these are all power plans. And I advise that you initiate the orders that you want to initiate first. If you have more than one power plan, initiate them individually, and at the very end, you can sign them all at once under orders for signature. Many of you might find yourself admitting patients in the ED. Those patients can be signed and not initiated because they need to be initiated when they get to the floor. Nurses are supposed to look for planned orders and initiate them once they arrive to the floor. Sometimes there can be some confusion, and I do encourage you to make sure those orders do get initiated on the floor, or that you double check to see that if it has not been done, you can initiate it and then talk to the nurse so they understand that they understand the process. I think until we've gotten very comfortable with this system, we should all look over each other's shoulders to make sure we're taking appropriate measures to make sure the patient's getting the medications and orders they need. So with that, I will conclude this video. One last thing is this orders for signature. If there are orders that remain on the chart to be co-signed, you can click that, and you do have the option to co-sign those orders. Thank you.